I touched it, and then like you know how like when you touch it, it takes like a couple seconds for you to actually feel it. Right when I felt it, I pulled it off.
Yeah. You know why that's important? What you just said. You see how it took a second to realize that it was burning? If you have a little kid who's a toddler and just learning how to walk and wobble around, and they reach out to touch something and it's hot, they just keep their hand there. Because they don't realize that this is hot, I need to take my hand off of it. Instead, they scream and they go, ah! So our job is to what?
Take their hand off of it.
Yeah. Keep them away from things like that. Things that can hurt them. That's why we're careful. Stove handles are in. That's why we don't put things that you can put in the electric socket in there, because you don't want them to shock themselves or hurt themselves that way. So it's our job to protect them, because we're smart enough to know what hurts, right? So don't put your curling iron or your flat iron down where the cord's out and then you got a toddler walking through.
I burned myself on a curling iron.
That will not be the first time.
I was stretching my arms back and I hit it on a curling iron because I didn't know it was behind me. I thought it was a sharp.
So was that your mom's fault?
Yes.
Just saying, I told her it was there.
I didn't.
We've been over this.
So what about a sunburn?
Oh yeah, everybody's had
Anybody
that.
have a real bad sunburn?
Bad sunburn.
Yeah? Sunburns are bad. I've had 30-year-old men walk into an emergency room that got brought to me upstairs, and they're with their shirt off, and they've got a really bad sunburn because they weren't thinking very appropriately, and they fell asleep on a boat in the sun, and they got a real bad sunburn. So then they're just like, so good. That's what I want to talk about. Number one thing you do not do on a burn, ever, do not ever put ice on a burn, ever.
Why?
Ever.
Yeah.
Why?
Biggest cold water.
I want you to think about this.
How about
Because if you put a burn, if say you burned your hand, say you got grease or something on your hand, and you burn real bad and you put ice on it, what's the burn gonna do? The burn's gonna run from the ice and it's gonna go down and it's gonna go deeper. I have seen so many people that have done this, and they have turned their second-degree burns into third, and to the point where we have to shave it off and do big grafts, and it's a really bad thing. Ew. Never, ever put ice on a burn. Number one thing we do with a burn, first you want to make sure it's clean. So if it was something dirty like a firework or something, you got crud on it, right? If you want to put it under like warm water or luke water, or even a little bit of a cool water, just don't do cold water, just do cool water. You can do that. But what happens is when you burn yourself, that protective layer of your skin goes away. So all those nerve endings that are hurting are just on fire, going crazy, right? So you need to cover them up. So number one thing, make sure it's clean. Throw a Vaseline, huge layer of Vaseline, cheap, plain Vaseline, and then wrap it up. And that pain that you're feeling will go down quite a bit, if not all the way, okay? And then if it's bad enough that you've got blisters, make sure you have a doctor look at it, okay? And if it's bad enough that it's on your face or hands or something, you probably need to go get looked at. Call your doctor. Call me. Okay? We'll get it taken care of.
That's what I do. She's my doctor.
She does. All hours of the day. Okay, so what do we do with a burn?
Cover it up.
Cover it up. Vaseline. Yes.
No ice.
No ice.
No cold
No
stuff.
ice.
No cold
Do you know how many adults don't know that?
A million.
And I say to put butter on it, or
I've had butter, I've had peanut butter, I've had eggs, I've had water-soaked bread, I've had, oh gosh, man, the things I've seen. Sorry, that was another one. Don't do it, just Vaseline, plain Vaseline. You can use Neosporin, but I'm not a fan of Neosporin just because a lot of people are allergic to, or they start getting allergic to the neo part of Neosporin.
so that's why I didn't get it for your first week.
Have I lectured you on that before? Probably. Okay, so what's something else sweet. How about heat stroke? Does anybody know what heat stroke is or heat exhaustion? You know what it is?
Yeah, it's like where you get like really, really hot.
Mm-hmm. What happens? When do we see that?
Oh,
When do you see
like
it?
they get really, really hot and they pass out.
They can. They can pass out.
Where your throat is like really hot
Where your body temperature.
Yes. So you know when I see this the most? I see this during the summer. I see this a lot with football players who are wearing their pads and their helmets and all their gear on, and they're running, and all morning long they have been playing video games. So, you know, I'm not drinking water, I don't care, whatever. I had a bowl of cereal, that's enough, right? And then they go put all their pads on, and then they go run around and they do all this, and they aren't used to the activity, and it's 100 and some degrees out, right? So your body gets too hot, which means it's using all this energy. And if your body gets too hot, you start getting sick. So the first one is getting like a heat exhaustion, where your body's used all this extra water, because you've already turned all your extra water into sweat, right? And you lose water that way, and you lose your salt, and it makes you sick. So if you start getting dizzy or getting nauseous, or people start looking funny, like they start turning funny colors and they just look sick, and you're outside at a practice or doing something, and it's a hot day, ask them, be like, how are you feeling? Are you feeling all right? Do you want to, let's go get your water. Let's go get a drink of water. So staying hydrated, drinking enough water, and getting yourself into a cool spot is very important, right?
We do this thing called Relay for Life once a year in the summer, and last year my sister got so hot and she was like having a dizzy spell at the same time, and so she was like dizzy and she couldn't see straight. And
That's this. Exactly. And what the thing is as long as you're still awake enough to be able to drink some water and sit down and take a break, then it's okay. Sometimes these people will pass out and they'll be very, very sick, and they have to go to the hospital and get an IV and get IV fluid to rehydrate them up, because they need that fluid, right? So that's important. It's important to recognize heat stroke or heat exhaustion for when somebody's starting to look funny. If they start running and they're going like funny, and be like, are you doing okay? Let's have a water break, okay? Coaches around here typically are pretty good about it, especially in Derby. I have to say Derby coaches are pretty good about it. So that's good, okay? So we've got heat stroke. How about cold? How about when your body's too cold? Do you know anything about being too cold?
hot water? Oh no.
If your body's too cold, I see this a lot with people who don't have a home, who fall asleep on the street, or they don't have a warm place to be, and one of their feet get really cold because their sock got snow in it, and then their foot gets real cold, and they get what's called frostbite. Or if part of your body isn't getting enough blood, then it starts turning funny colors. It'll turn white, and then it can turn blue, and we hope that it will never get to the point where it's black. But then that part of your body will die. So it makes you very sick. It's very, very sick, and it's very important. So if you are outside in the snow and you're having a snowball fight and you're having fun, that's okay. But if you start to not be able to feel your toes or your feet or your legs, it's probably time to go in. And then change your socks and put something warmer on and get them back to room temperature. So going back inside and doing a warm bath or something would be a good thing. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, how about nosebleeds? Whose nose has bled this winter?
Not
Really?
I have never had that.
That's a good percent. That's probably one of the biggest things I hear right now is people coming in and they're saying, I have this cold and this boogers and my nose keeps bleeding. And I don't know what's going on, and I've been coughing up blood. What happens is they're getting nosebleeds and their throat's sore and everything's real dry. And when the air is cold, the air is really dry, which is why your skin's all cracking, and you're more likely to have nosebleeds. So if you have a nosebleed, what do you do?
Get a tissue.
Yes. Get a tissue. What
Or
else?
a box.
Yeah, you may need a whole box, but hopefully not.
You like pinch it and like everyone always says different things to either lean forward or lean back. Which one do you use?
Thing is, if you lean back, all that blood's gonna go down here and it's gonna go in your throat, right? So we don't like that. And if you lean forward, well, it's gonna kind of come out, and you can do that. I would stay just right side. Just look normal. And if anything, tilt up a little bit and pinch it. The best thing you can do when something's bleeding is hold pressure to it, right? So hold pressure to it. If you're bleeding right here, or you're bleeding on your finger because you cut your nail too short, hold pressure to it. If you cut your, your nail too short, and cut the skin or something
Cut your
instead,
baby's finger off.
or cut your baby's finger off, you hold pressure to it. So you're gonna hold it enough.
I don't know why everybody's looking at me.
So holding it, what happens when you hold something? We're gonna put pressure to it. You've got blood coming out like a fountain. You're holding it. It's gonna let your body start to build like a wall, right? So you have these special blood cells that do that. It'll start scabbing. Your platelets develop a little gunk of, a little clot of blood. Yeah? We want to get it to a scab even. So you holding it is the #1 thing to do. Same with your nose. But every time you hold it, let go, get another Kleenex, maybe blow it out, and then you're going to be at risk of blowing that little scab off of it, right? So you want to hold it and actually hang out there for a while. Hang out there for 5-10 minutes. You're like, I'm just going to stay here because I don't want to go through my whole box of Kleenex, okay? So doing that, how we would treat a nosebleed, right? That makes sense? Okay. How about bumps and bruises? I'm going to teach you something nobody knows. Okay?
I might know.
She's excited now. Watch out, girls.
When do you... I get asked this question all the time by all types of ages. And I want you guys to understand why we do something. Because I think if you know why you do something, then it makes more sense and you follow through with it, right? So when do you use heat and when do you use cold? So if you were to hurt something and they're like, put an ice pack on it or put a hot pack on it, when do you use what? Any ideas?
If your muscles are hurt, sometimes you could put hot or cold on it, and like if you have icy hot, that helps sometimes too, even though it burns.
Yeah, it does on the skin. You're right. Now, when your muscles hurt, that's probably the biggest thing, right? When your muscles, have you ever seen a steak? Like a big piece of steak, meat, roast. If you take a steak and you pull it really hard like this,
You're gonna pull a muscle out.
and you pull it, it kind of gets kind of weak and funny looking. That's what happens when you hurt a muscle. So if you pull a muscle on your back, if you pull a muscle on your leg or your thigh or something, right? And you pull that muscle. So all the blood cells, everything is going to that area, which causes it to swell. You twist your ankle, it's causing it to swell. All your blood saying, you hurt that ankle, we have to fix it, there's something going on down here. So your ankle is going to get big and puffy and swollen, right? And it's going to hurt, and it kind of pulsates every time you get up and you're walking on it. It's going to hurt more because you're going to feel your heartbeat in your foot, right?
Yeah. Kind of weird.
So what do?
Ice.
We do ice because what does the body do with ice?
Heal.
All that, with the burn, you put ice on a burn, it's going to go away. Your body's going to start not swelling as much, and all those cells and all that water, all that stuff that's sitting down in your foot now is going to start going back into the body. So for the first 2 days, you're going to put ice on it. Put ice on it. Now, after that beginning of the ice, right, after that 2 days, and you don't want to do it so much that you get frostbite either, right, because you don't want your foot to fall off.
Maybe you do.
So you're going to ice it for 10-15 minutes, and then you take it off, let it defrost, let your foot get feeling again, then put ice on it again, and then take it off, and that's going to make you feel better, and you just do that constantly, as much as you
How about
can.
a slice it in half?
What?
What?
How about a slice it? How about
slice, so we're gonna have to.
I think it's some people probably would rather cut things off when they hurt so bad. In that case, I'd refer you out.
Somebody go.
Well, boys have to do this too.
Well, it's not a two.
That's okay. You can do it too. It's in your bloodline. Okay, so ice. Heat is if you pull a muscle and you have back pain and you're hurting and it's about a week out and you're kind of sore, using heat's going to help. Heat's going to bring more fluid and blood cells and healing into that area too. So ice is right away, so that first couple days, and heat is what you're going to use afterwards. Okay, but I wouldn't use that for a week or so. Okay, so using that ice especially on ankles. So if you hurt your ankle, you're going to get off of it, you're going to rest it, you're going to put ice on it, you're going to wrap it up, and you're going to elevate it, so you're going to kick it up. So what does that spell? Rest it, ice it, compress it, elevate it. What are you going to do? That's right. And that's something you should all remember. Rest, ice, compress, elevate. Out of all the things in my world, that's what I always remember those things.
Rice? We learned that at like
R-I-C-E.
caravan thing.
R-I-C-E.
We did this thing at my church called caravans, and we earned badges too, and we did our first aid badge, and we learned about
That one's
Nice.
Kylie.
It's good. It's important to know that. So we
You
can do
think we
that
should
with
grab it and
arms
go
and
through
legs
the
and everything, right? So if you get a big bruise or a bump and you start bleeding, because what is a bruise? A bruise is when you hurt yourself, right? And the blood starts kind of pooling underneath there and you turn black and blue. You want to put ice or cool or something cold on it, right? So it'll stop bleeding. And you can also put some pressure to it. Okay, did you put poison control number on that little sheet card things that I saw?
Not unless it was on the thing that I printed out. I don't think so.
I've called that before.
Me too.
So when my kids got into the medicine and just drank it.
What'd they drink?
I don't even remember what it was, but they said it should be fine.
I think I even did at one point.
Hey.
Look, Jamie made it in the shape of a heart.
Yep. Look,
Thanks for learning all about first aid and nursing.
it's love. Napkin.
Have somebody to help you.
Okay, so if somebody got poisoned,
There'll be enough if you
What is
take
poison?
care of the little ones. You know, the, like, the little hat things.
what's bad?
Sorry, not trying to draw away.
Kylie, napkin.
Sorry, not trying to draw away. 15 minutes.
Is there poison in the brownie?
Maybe.
Who made that brownie? Do you
I
know
promised
who
I
made that
cooked it and then there's no poison.
Oh,
And I even washed my hands
brownie?
before
If a man
and
on the
during.
street offered you a brownie, would you eat it?
No!
Okay, good. My work's done here.
But if Kylie offers you a brownie, are you gonna eat it?
Depends where we're looking for Kylie at.
Is it a brownie here?
Yeah.
No, do not eat the brownie.
Neither.
Do not eat the brownies on
If you don't know who made them, don't eat them.
There's enough for each of you to have two.
Let's start with one.
There is enough, I'm just saying.
Sorry. They just
Can I
get-
put Reese's
They've got
on this
15 minutes.
To do this too?
I didn't know how long it would take. You can summarize.
Someone made dice or something.
Should I keep it?
So, yeah, stop that.